Back with us on the SportsMax Zone. The only player from Lehigh University in the United States to make it to the NBA is the same man who has served Portland Trail Blazers for the better part of 9 seasons. He is a true team player, as evidenced by his acceptance of the role of wingman to his team's sharpshooting all-star guard leader, Dame Lillard. But now, that man, CJ McCollum, must chart a future elsewhere after the Trail Blazers dealt him to New Orleans Pelicans in a bumper 7-player deal. These are the pieces involved in that deal. So, CJ McCollum and Larry Nance and Tony Snell move from the Blazers to the Pelicans, and the Pelicans are sending in the reverse direction Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nickel Alexander-Walker, Didi Lozada, a 22 first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks. Now, Lillard, Dame Dollar, he spoke from the heart about his time with McCollum in the Trailblazers team. He said, we both knew that this point would be coming. Well, that will make it easier to deal with. I think we'll be remembered as trouble. We never won a championship together. We never played in the NBA Finals, but we all have always been a winning team. We were always the team that people would prefer not to play in the playoffs. That's how I think we'll be remembered. The Trailblazers themselves, the organization, issued this statement. I want to thank the owner of the Trailblazers. I want to thank CJ for the integral role he played in the success of the franchise over the last 9 seasons and for his countless acts of service to the Portland community. CJ has cemented himself in Trailblazers with his elite skill level and memorable moments on the court, as well as with the work ethic, professionalism, and the generosity he displays behind the scenes. Well, joining us now to discuss part 1 of this trade segment is our NBA analyst, Alister Albert. Alister, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, sorry to disturb you from the latest film you were making, but, you know, happy you could take time for people like us. Alister, CJ and the Blazers, it was a good relationship without getting the glitzy GQ spread of a wedding. Yeah, it never landed on the front page of any of those big magazines. Never Vanity Fair, never GQ. Some smaller magazines maybe as a measure of the fact that they didn't win an NBA title or a conference title. But it was a good relationship, and he was a darn good player for them.
Yeah, it's a case of always a bridesmaid, never the bride for these guys. You know, they always kind of got really far in terms of what Dame Lillard said being very troublesome, a very troublesome team that nobody really wanted to face. But, you know, they never could really get past the second round. Their best season was about 3 seasons ago where they got swept in the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. You could see that the team was just not up to that level. And, you know, that's kind of the peak of their whole relationship together for the 9 years that CJ McCollum was there with the franchise. You know, it was time to move on, like Dame Lillard actually alluded to in his statement. You know, they've done the best that they can. The team tried to surround them with the players that they could get. Portland is not really a team that, you know, many people want to get to in terms of it being a very glitzy market that players and free agency players will want to get to. It was a really much of a hard sell for Neil Olshey, who was the previous GM who ran most of that time for the front office. So yeah, it was time for them to be broken up. There are 2 small guards, you know, combo guards together, not really, you know, being able to push the team any further. And, you know, the good times had to come to an end at some point, and this is where it came.
Yeah, the fact, Alister, that CJ McCollum played with Dame Lillard in Portland in that Trailblazers team, and we all know who the superstar was, us on the outside. Those on the inside also knew who the superstar was in that team. Do you think that has helped to give us a favorable impression of CJ McCollum, to the extent that were he playing against a player of lesser abilities, lesser profile, we wouldn't think that what he did was so much special? In other words, the fact of Dame Lillard and what Dame Lillard could do and often did, and CJ just being the willing facilitator and enabler in many respects, that boosted CJ's stocks. And without a talent like Dame Lillard in the team that he's going, we may even ignore him and forget that he exists, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah. But the thing is, it really highlights CJ as a really great team player, someone who could kind of come into a lineup and not really hurt you. Average at least 20 points a game, put up 30 or 40 points any given night, and really help a team. But it's really good in that respect, from that perspective. But it also kind of shows that he was lacking in the ability to really provide the push that a team needs to be championship level and elite. And I think that's the knock on them as a duo. As a unit from the backcourt there. They were always one of the best combo duos, from the guard position in the NBA, but they could just never get past, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, Durant and Russell Westbrook when they were with OKC, and those bigger, better, more recognized duos and everything in those teams. So it really spells really nicely for him. He's the president of the Basketball Association. He's really, really well liked. Any team will probably want to have him. He's very articulate, very clever, and on the court, has a really good basketball IQ. But how far could that really get you? It seems like he's lacking in the ability, this star quality. He's never been able to make an all-star team. He's lacking there, and so he's a good player, but maybe just lacking. And we want to see what he's going to do with Zion and Brandon Ingram in the Pelicans. Will he actually push them through? We will see.
Yes, indeed. Nice guy, but as you say, just lacking that little bit of star quality. Moving on now, when the Lakers acquired Russell Westbrook last summer, they did it to form what was supposed to be their version of the Big Three, which will include, of course, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But on this day in sports, the Lakers are 9th in the West, winning 26 and losing 29 games. And after previously being bypassed in games where the Lakers were chasing the win deep in the fourth quarter, Westbrook was again looked over on Tuesday as coach Frank Vogel attempted an ultimately futile rally against Milwaukee Bucks. This is what Westbrook said post-game.
Second straight game that you've received boos after, a turnover. Is that a hard experience for you? I mean, this is home for you, and coming back was a special thing. Is that a hard thing for you to absorb in any way?
It's a sign of respect. Sign of respect. I don't. My mindset and how I think about this game and what I'm able to do for this game is not predicated on boos. I have a platform that I'm able to use to be able to do other things that God has blessed me with to be able to do, and I will continue to do those things. Regardless of people boo for me, cheer for me, cuss me out, call me names, it doesn't really matter.
I almost feel sorry for him. Alister, are we seeing the last days of Westbrook as a Laker?
Maybe not this season, because I can't see the Lakers being able to shift his contract. It will require a team with enough cap space to want to take him. And news just coming out before we came on this segment, it says that most teams are not willing to do a trade with the Lakers if they're not willing to include their 2027 first round draft pick in any deal to kind of incentivize them to take on Westbrook's bloated contract. So we might be seeing his last few weeks and months with the team, because maybe in the offseason, a team with all the movements and everything, teams might have more cap space to maybe take him on. But which contending team will want to take him on, I don't know, because he's such a explosive character on the court and off the court. It might disrupt a contender, so I don't see him going to a contending team. So that leaves us with teams with loads of cap space, probably not going anywhere, and just going to be treading water for the next set of seasons, like the Washington Wizards where he was last year. So the team that kind of just stuck out for me, as I thought about this as I got ready for this segment, was the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have a habit of always just picking up loads of contracts of big name players who just don't seem to do very well on that team. They come in and try to be saviors. But even the Knicks, I think, would be really afraid of taking him on because of his contract. First of all, they're trying to keep their books clear for free agencies. And I don't even see how that's going to work. So he's now looks like a player who could become very similar to his teammate Carmelo Anthony, where teams will be very afraid to take him on. He'll have to probably consider bench roles moving forward. And this might be the last season for him, and it's really, really sad to see an MVP elite level player get trounced like this in public perception on the court, and he's not helping himself with the turnovers and some of the responses he's been giving to the media.
Yeah, I have 30 seconds left, Alister, and I just wanted to say this to you and get your thoughts quickly. You know, I've been thinking about Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, who were at the OKC Thunder together, as we all know. And I'm looking at, well, perhaps before the start of this season, we would say that James Harden would be included in the argument I'm going to make about Durant, that Durant is a better player now than when he was with the OKC Thunder. Is Russell Westbrook a better player now than when he was with the OKC Thunder?
It doesn't seem so. He's compiled all the stats to kind of make it look like that, like he is, because he's now on the top 75 list of history of the NBA. He's, Mr. Triple-Double and all of that. But all these stats are just ring a bit hollow because, he hasn't been able to push his teams through, just like CJ McCollum. He only can do so much, and he doesn't really help his team. And it's manifesting itself right now for the Lakers. And, if he stayed with that team, Oklahoma City Thunder are my team because, I was with those guys from the time they came over to Seattle, from Seattle to Oklahoma. And, I wanted to see them do well. And, they just haven't been able to do that. If those three had stayed together, I think his game would have evolved differently, hopefully. But yeah, it's really sad to see what's going to happen. And I'm afraid it's probably the last few weeks we're going to see Russell Westbrook in a purple and gold.
Yeah, Alister, thank you very much. As usual, all the best. We'll talk again.
No problem. See you guys.
Yeah, let's wrap this segment of the NBA with what happened on court on Tuesday night. The Suns, number one in the league at the moment, winning by 5 over the 76ers. The Hawks, 133-112 over the Pacers. The Celtics beat a Nets team that were without Durant, Irving, and their other big player, George. Durant, Irving, and Harden. They were all absent from the game last night. The Grizzlies, the Pelicans, Mavericks, and Nuggets, they all won over the Clippers, Rockets, Pistons, and Knicks. The Bucks beat the Lakers, Giannis with 44 points and 15 rebounds. The Timberwolves beat the Kings 134-114, and the Trailblazers were beaten 113-95 by Orlando Magic. We go to break. Back with more of the SportsMax Zone after this.